Okay, good evening, good morning, good night, everybody. We are now starting the first Edu Business Summit by CONIFA and for CONIFA and for the rest of the world, of course. We are pleased to share our expertise, experiences, knowledge of the CONIFA people, for the CONIFA people. This evening also we'll have a special guest joining to our speech and presentation. So I please Per Anders, our global president, can start the greetings to the audience, live and delayed, that we listen later on. And then I will introduce by my own presentation pretty much the today's schedule. We'll have many guests, so and of course many opportunities for talking also the audience to interact, make questions to the speakers, to make an interactive sharing experience. Please, Per Anders, go forward. It's your time.
Thank you, Fabio, and welcome everyone to this actually historical moment, and it's a huge milestone for CONIFA because this is our first ever digital event that we broadcast. So excuse if there is any technical challenges on the way, but I think it's going to be a very smooth and a nice event. A big thank you for Dr. Fabio Pontillo, who is setting up all this meeting. And I think it will give you both inspiration and knowledge on the area of business, sport business in particular. I have a small abbreviation in my first slide, but the meaning of that is you can't do business sitting on your ass. And that's a truth that is out there. That's the hard reality. I will go to the next slide. For those who don't have the whole picture about CONIFA, CONIFA was born in 2013. So we are now heading into our 8th year of operation. Today we represent 58 members, and these members representing 675 million people in 6 continents. And everything can be read about more in detail at the www.conifa.org. But it's an amazing journey, and the growth has been outstanding, actually. And that's thanks to so many volunteers all around the world that contribute to a fantastic mission and objective. But once again, read more on our website and learn more about what it's all about. When it comes to me in person, this business summit is actually a special area of interest for me personally, because myself have more than 20 years of experience of international business development, and especially for fast-growing companies targeting global markets. I also certified innovation manager from the Kellogg School of Innovation in the US. So I really looking forward to this session. Some insights. Global sports sponsorship. If you just look at sponsorship in 2020, and now we are talking about in a period when we had the global pandemic situation, the sponsorship revenue in 2020 was $17.2 billion US. That's the sponsorship revenue globally. When it comes to media rights, the prediction, there are several marketing agencies out there, and this is a prediction from the Rethink TV Marketing Forum. The prediction for the media rights revenue in 2024, a couple of years from now, is $85 billion US. So having this summit today is actually the right timing to be prepared for 2024 and the future to come. Today we will gain both inspiration and knowledge from global leaders in sport, We have Dr. Fabio Pontillo, the CONIFA General Manager, Christoph Wenzel, who is the Vice President of CONIFA and also a professional sports lawyer. We have John Neiman and David Green from My Cujo TV. It's a streaming platform that CONIFA uses to stream our tournaments and matches. We have Tomer Yehudayan from Colosseum Sport in Israel, who is head of knowledge in that company and a really fantastic person. And last but not least, also Richard Motzkin, who is the executive vice president at Wasserman. So this 1.5 hours will hopefully give you both inspiration and knowledge. I have some small wording from my own perspective as a business developer, and the only thing that I want to share with you is some small wordings. But one fact is that you can actually offer something really unique, and as a member of CONIFA, you already have a global attention for both your people, your region, and country. And there are some small keywords that I want to give to you, which is important from my perspective, and that is understand your customer. What is your customer actually buying? Yeah, they are actually buying emotions. It's also important that you start with defining your asset. What is actually the products and services that are sellable? And to be able to define your asset, you actually need to understand your customer, so that is aligned with each other. You don't need to be best in class, actually. You don't need to have the best product, you don't need to have the best service in the world, because if that was a fact, you can only see one brand in each segment. So try to understand that good enough is actually good enough. And then go out there and sell. Take it to action, because it doesn't matter how many fine documents you have or strategies and things like that. You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you won't sell anything. So take it to action. That is so important. But once again, that's my small address to you. Welcome to this 1.5 hour. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope it will once again give you much inspiration and knowledge. Thank you, Fabio, for doing a fantastic work.
Thank you, Per. I appreciate your words and your insight. Definitely, I hope you inspire our members and provide additional encouraging, information to go forward. We are definitely living, a tough time, but at least let's say that we can spend this time exactly to think about and relaunch our activity in the future to make it better. That's why I try to have this event today, to share our experience and best practice about how to support our activity by an efficient, effective business strategy and activity. I go quickly because time is flying, and so the goal. Sorry, it's a little bit slow. Okay. So the goals of this event is what I said, basically. Goal strategy, revenue generation, taking care of our audience, connect, and then also being CONIFA. I think that there is an advantage that we can talk later, part of this strategy. The calendar has already been introduced by Per Anders. So pretty much for the first 20 minutes, it's our talk. And then from 4 p.m. Central European Time, we'll have our guest for approximately an hour. And then all our comments and participation. Then Jason will join us also to give his greetings and comment to this day. So what are the main source of revenues? Traditionally, also the CONIFA members as the other major, organization and clubs, they pretty much manage these 6, let's say, tools. And one is traditional players transfer fee. Basically, when you have your own players and you want to trade, basically let them to go to another team. If the contract you have with them it's not expired, you can try to recover some of your costs. You might be into the development of those players or the acquisition, of those contracts.
That was nice. It's gonna be amazing.
New rights, sponsorship, advertising, match day, tickets, product sale, licensing, and others. We go quickly on the subject I described before. Player transfer fee. I put first to explain that in our world of the second type.
I know, but you said maybe the give egg.
Close your.
I didn't say.
Otherwise, there is a noise on background. So if
Sometimes they say there's no eggs and then they restart the show.
please try to close
After.
the microphone. Somebody.
Fabio, unmute
And
everyone.
then maybe they will add it anyway.
Fabio, you as the host, I guess you can mute
Yes.
the participants.
Mute everyone.
Okay. What? I'll try. No, I can't. Anyway, okay, let's go forward. So, player transfer fee is important because for the smaller tire clubs and organization, this often the main source of revenues, or one of the principal. And I have multiple data on my presentation, but I will share online rather than to read go all the points, making too slow our chat. So I want to go forward. Media rights, basically, it's television traditionally. We are going to the new media. My Cujo is our streaming partner, is an example, exploiting over the internet our content as well for others. Value, as we said, audience matters. Bigger the audience, more the value. But not only just having big numbers, but also able to aggregate in critical mass, because having, as unfortunately happened to CONIFA, having a pretty decent audience spread out all over the world is difficult to monetize, because either the media rights acquisition or the sponsors, they are not able to turn this audience into value for them. It's more challenging. In other words, it's better to have, let's say, 1 million audience in one place, one city, rather than to have 1 million people all over the world, because the sponsors have to chase around the globe those 1 million. But still, it's important also for if you don't make any money, you don't make any money in licensing, because media it's tools for promote your brand, your event, interact with your audience, making them part of the event. Otherwise, they wouldn't participate even virtually. And of course, exploit your sponsorship even locally. Going around, okay, media rights is pretty much a way to calculate how much is the value, but it matters really about, as I said, your size, your market condition. Every market is different, and therefore every market has its own economics. And to understand that, of course, or you really study the industry in your market, or you take advantage of the advisory of somebody that knows this business. I work for Infront, IMG. Those are two companies, two agencies. This is a job, acquiring rights or getting the license on behalf of the client, and they resell to the broadcasters around the world. Wasserman, we hear Richard later on, they do pretty much the same. They're based in the US, but they're becoming global. So it's another player that can help, as others, the rights holders, the sports people, to exploit those rights around the world. Going quickly, sponsorship advertising, the other additional leg, as Fernando said, is pretty big in numbers. And of course, it's important to to exploit that, if you can do by yourself, when you're small, it's ideally by yourself, and try to connect your event, your audience with the local business communities. Explain the value for them of your event, the participation, the passion of the people, and that's why they should be engaged. Try to make the difference in terms of what is the difference of CONIFA versus the others. Otherwise, you play against maybe bigger events, but you can make a difference by own values. So what is the value? Again, market condition changes a lot the economics, but to make a very simple example, or you study how much is the value in other markets or your markets of the sponsorship, so other sports event in your city, your country, you try to figure out how much could be your event value comparing, the audience. Or otherwise, you try to negotiate directly with the sponsor. I have to switch to. I think we should have the bigger, longer time. Maybe it's not. I see anyway, now we'll try to switch as soon as. So again, an example of making good sponsorship would be if you host, let's say, car dealer, you say, okay, if you sell one car more during my event, how much may you make? Okay, let's split that with me. So it's very simple tool to understand what is the value for your sponsor, and therefore how you can share that with your event. Let's say going to, let's say, sponsor advertising. I described briefly here other data. We'll see later. Match day is basically tickets and the other sales that you can perform during the event, food items that you can sell by yourself or by your business partner. And of course, this time of pandemic, we can do very little. But as soon as we recover, the real life, regular life, match day will come back again. Other data, product sales and licensing. Sport licensing is basically give your name brand to a business partner because they can exploit on your behalf your name. So they put your name on any kind of products, really. It can be sports, but any kind of product. So for you, it might be a good business as long as you're able to track and support them to see how they can use, your business partner, and how can give value to your brand. There is also the risk if your brand is misused associated with the wrong products, it might hurt your image. And of course, you have to take care of the management of the contract. So you do it by yourself, or you ask help by a marketing agency. Other source of revenues also, it's interesting to explore other opportunities because when you have a football activity, you can professionally or semi-professionally, you can develop your school academies, therefore exploit your brand and organization to attract the younger players, be part of your world. That can be a decent source of revenues. Fan club and hospitality, try to have some event outside the football match with your audience, and then they might pay, the food at the restaurant or the enrollment to your club. Travel, when you participate to our World Cup or Continental Cups, or arrange for them also this participation. Healthcare is another example. Of course, sports is an healthy activity, but can hurt your body sometimes. So making a kind of agreement with a local health provider can also be a way to say, okay, this provider is good, excellent to fix, or take care of our players. Therefore, you can take care also the normal, people. And okay, going here, we said before, this is just to recap. And the last point, let's say, there is it's my suggestion to be CONIFA. In other words, so far we explained the traditional business tools of manage the sports organization. But CONIFA is different, has a special values, unique values that must be really put in evidence when we deal with the business partners. Even because if those values really are expressed, we involve our audience and partner, really we can make the difference and fill the gaps in terms of missing the excellency in our football management. In other words, if you have a sponsor, traditionally we sell our play spots in the football match, let's involve them in our life, in our celebration, as well their families and friends, employees. That's show that CONIFA is different. That's why it's my last message, which not contradict, but enrich what I said before. It's leveraging our CONIFA word. Well, thank you, everybody. I leave the word to Christoph. I think it should be the next one. I'll try to extend our timing. I believe that we have longer speech. Christoph?
Thank you very much, Fabio. Actually, I had some technical difficulties as I have dropped my MacBook yesterday afternoon. So, excuse me for a bit of I'm in a spare laptop on this meeting at the moment. Let me follow it with my topic as the Schirmacher agreement and the best legal practices in sports deal, especially in the life of CONIFA. As you probably are aware, we have concluded an agreement with Schirmacher. It's a Danish company representing the sports brands Calma, which is a traditional Spanish sports brand, and Precision, which is quite new as far as I know. They are focusing very much on football and futsal, and probably remember a few years ago, or 15, 20 years ago, even Real Madrid has played in Calma equipment. So I guess that this agreement is really an honor for CONIFA, and hopefully an honor for Schirmacher and the brands it represents as well. But this agreement is not only about the equipment of the CONIFA staff and the volunteers on the CONIFA tournaments and the cooperation of the two brands, but it's also a big step in the fan engagement in the life of CONIFA, as we are set up a web shop, and we try to extend this agreement to our affiliated football associations, football federations as well. So hopefully in a certain period, in a year or in a few months, more CONIFA teams will have the model agreement with the Calma, with Schirmacher as well. To have this agreement in a bigger picture, I would say that in sport commercial agreements, one of the best practice is probably, which is known by everyone, is the UEFA Champions League, which has already almost 30-year history. And if you remember that when it all began with 6 main sponsors, and until today these 6 main sponsors, or better to say partners, not because they are not only sponsors, they are partners of UEFA as well. It was extended up to 8, but it's still limited number of partners, and I guess it's a role model which should follow, or with some amendments, it should follow the CONIFA in the future as well. So we should have a strategy that what kind of sponsors we are and partners we are looking for. And if we regard that, let's take the 6 fields or 7 fields or 8 fields, from the beer company to the bank to the car company, or the payment solutions like MasterCard, or the entertainment sector, then we can say that at the moment we have already 2 major partners. One is on the TV and media platforms and streaming platforms. It's My Cujo, and right now we have concluded the second one with Schirmacher and with Kelme. I'm not forgetting our cooperation, our sponsorship agreements with previously with Paddy Power and right.
Seems that everyone is connecting again.
We are joining.
Yeah, that's good. And everything is recorded now, so it seems that we are under control. Hi, Dave. David. Is it Dave or David?
Only my mother calls me David.
Okay.
Or when my wife is mad at me.
As far as I know, I'm not your mother, so
Yeah. I don't.
I have to go for Dave then.
David's fine. Yeah. So let me confirm that I can share my screen here. Oh, it says the screen sharing is still disabled. So I think someone has to turn it on, the host.
Share sound, advanced, basic, PowerPoint files. If we go to participants, Dave, more, make hosts, make co-hosts. I make you a co-host. Let's see. Do you want to make?
Yeah.
Can you try share it now?
I will try. Yeah. Okay. I'll be able to do that now. I'm going to share my entire screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Great. And John, are you here as well?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Great, so thank you very much, everyone. We'll try and keep this short and sweet so that you guys can get back on track, but appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your meeting today. My name is Dave Green. I am a business development manager for My Cujo, and alongside me is my colleague, John Neiman, and John is part of our partner success management team. And I think some of you may have corresponded with him in the past on previous live streaming projects with CONIFA. So just today, we very briefly wanted to give an overview of who we are for those that don't know us. So some of this might be repetitive for those of you that have worked with us in the past, but we also had a major update at the end of last year that we'll talk about as well. And then John will share some very brief best tips and practices to help you guys get familiar with our platform. But at the end of the day, I want to reiterate that we can follow up with some much more detailed and in-depth presentations on how to use My Cujo with video tutorials. And we're always available to take you guys through live demos at a later date. So very briefly, what is My Cujo? My Cujo is a live football streaming platform that works in what we call the long tail. So we work with the likes of amateur leagues, youth leagues, women's leagues all over the world. And while we've had the likes of Champions League broadcasts on My Cujo, we've had World Cup qualifiers, Olympic qualifiers, our real goal and focus is to help organizations like yours become capable of broadcasting all of your content and your live matches in a very simple and inexpensive way. It empowers you to do it in a way that gives you access to fans around the world. So if you have a following in a different corner of the world, very simply, you can live stream with a smartphone over a 4G connection, and fans in every corner of the globe would have access to that if you made it free and open for people to watch. And it's not just live content, it's something that you can watch on demand. So once it's recorded, if someone doesn't have the opportunity to watch the full 90 minutes in real time, they can come back and watch it at a later date. And hopefully you're also tagging goals and highlights so people can come in and see the best clips in action after the fact, and these can be shared in real time as well. Who we work with. So My Cujo is a technology company and a media company combined. So you see the likes of Google and Akamai and Amazon. These are companies that we work with to help build our technology. And we work with global confederations. We had a major partnership with Asian Football Confederation. We've done stuff with CAF in Africa, and obviously we've broadcasted your events in the past and look forward to hosting them in the future. We also work at the federation and club level, and we have a bunch of media partners and brands that we work alongside, which we can talk about towards the end. But the idea here is streaming on My Cujo gives you access to tools and a platform of football crazy fans. We have found that it doesn't matter who scored the goal, but fans all over the world love and appreciate high quality moments. And we're here to help facilitate that. Some of you may have seen in the news recently at the end of 2020, My Cujo merged with 11 Sports. 11 Sports is a fellow global media platform in the world of sports. And we did this because they loved and believe in the idea of bringing broadcasting tools and capabilities to the masses in football. They have offices in 8 countries: the UK, Belgium, Portugal, Poland, Taiwan, Japan, and Myanmar. And they utilize a combination of linear, meaning television, and OTT, meaning digital solutions, like what My Cujo offers. And these are some of their partners in these respective regions. So they work with major entities like F1, the Premier League, the NFL from the United States, and as you can see, some other top football properties as well. And our objective is to join the very top of these of our sport of football with organizations like yours and competitions like yours all over the world to give fans unrivaled access to these matches. Sorry? Sorry, did someone have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll continue. So the goal here is as members of 11 Sports now to bridge the gap and give the opportunity to have in the future, have a CONIFA match next to a La Liga match, for example, perhaps in certain markets where 11 Sports has that. And this will continue to grow. And we're really excited to be a part of 11 Sports because it gives us more resources as a company to continue to build on the vision of My Cujo. At this point, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, John. And John, feel free to take it away.
Yeah. So for you who may not be completely have been following some of the work we've done with CONIFA together, we just wanted to quickly go through it. We've essentially been working with CONIFA for quite some time now, starting really with the World Cup in London in 2018 at the time, where one of our colleagues traveled down and we essentially pulled off a really fantastic production of the matches, which are still to this date available on our platform. And we continued working together on competitions like the No Limits Championship in 2019, and as well then the championship in Artsakh in 2019 as well. And just looking a bit so far, just on the CONIFA basis, we've done over 50 matches now, and really generated over 250,000 views from really all over the world, from 100+ countries, just showing how much potential is out there, and we're really just barely scratching the surface. And we really understand that the diaspora and the culture and the communities that are part of CONIFA, they're all over the place, and it's really just a matter of reaching them and tapping into them. And that is also one of the aspects that we've been trying to really empower and encourage the different CONIFA federations, the member associations, to utilize the platform and the technology that we offer for free to them, to really create your own channel and start representing who you are. And that may be just streaming friendly matches or tournaments or qualifiers, or even go a bit off the grid and present other content. For example, with CONIFA, we were also the place where the opening and closing ceremonies of the European Football Cup in 2019 were streamed, which were massive events, obviously, but our platform is very easily able to accommodate those and present those to a large audience. Yeah, next slide. So just in terms of showing what we're actually offering for fans, really it is an environment that is very much a football experience. So in that sense, as my colleague Dave already said, really giving them the ability to watch the matches live and on demand on any device, really. We have a dedicated app, but also mobile browser, smart TVs, and we're obviously looking into tapping into other platforms and other tools to offer people the ability to watch content, if that may be through emerging technologies and so on. So we are always striving hard to be at the forefront of that. As you enhance your broadcast, there is a timeline with highlights that you've tagged. Essentially, whenever you tag a highlight, it generates a clip that can be shared or reviewed automatically. These highlights and then can be compiled into a match recap that can be generated automatically, can be edited, essentially replacing editing tools that normally people would spend 10, 20 minutes on. You really have that available all with a couple of clicks. Within a minute, you can generate a high quality match recap of 2-3 minutes and compile this, creating content and sharing it on social media. Plus, we generate live statistics and so on and so on. So we really want to offer a perfect environment for fans. And to heighten that, we also want to give you the ability to distribute that content wherever you want. For example, embedding it on a dedicated platform, may it be your own federation's website, a CONIFA website, a partner like a media outlet, a newspaper. We've really worked with a lot of global outlets going so far that are able to amplify the content and really bring it to your local market, to your local communities. Yeah, and then just quickly going through some of the good advice that we generally present to partners. It's really a value chain, but ultimately it really depends on the resources that are available to you and how you communicate with your communities and your fans. So normally we tell people, inform them sufficiently in advance that the match will be streamed on My Cujo. So tell them, 4 or 5 days in advance. Make sure that to remind people how they can watch it. So share the link maybe a day before, and then just before the match kicks off, get them the link, get them excited. Share the goals, share highlights, share the match recaps when the match is over. So that there's a lot of touch points that you can essentially use, and we give you all the tools to do so.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just to quickly add to that, we also want to enable you to really use as little work as possible. We provide some templates and other things, and we can really try to empower you to use as little resources as possible and use all the tools that we give you to reach your fans and to reach really the communities around the world. I think that was a question.
Yes, we have 2 people raising their hands, and I can tell everyone also in the meeting that if you look down below on the right side of your screen, you have something called reactions, and there you have the possibility to raise your hand if you have any question. And my question to you, John, is it possible to embed a link to each federation's web shop when they're watching the game, and likewise the CONIFA web shop? Is it possible to embed that link into the platform?
Yeah, excellent question. Actually, my colleague Dave will touch on that right after this. Dave, you want to go into this, or do you want to answer the other questions?
It dovetails nicely, and so we did want to wrap up with it. And I came in at the tail end of Christoph's presentation, and I think this also is linked to that, in my personal opinion, and would love to explore this more with you guys. And I think my colleague Diego, who unfortunately couldn't make it, sends his regards, would also be a part of this conversation. But My Cujo is also here not only to help you connect with fans around the world, but as you're doing that, help you build monetization opportunities and explore revenue streams that can be had through My Cujo. And there's 2 ways that are available to CONIFA as a global organization, but also for your respective local federations within your own respective channels if you're live streaming local competitions. There is digital sponsorship available to every partner. We can share more information in terms of rate cards and graphic sizes, etc., and all the sizes. But what you see on the right are two examples. And what makes our platform really unique is that these are highly customizable logo spots. They're interactive, meaning that they're clickable. So you kind of see the sliding one pop up. This is coming into the video player, as you can see it here as well. So not only do you pick the logo, but for example, let's just take the web shop example as part of your question. You could have a logo for your web shop pop into the video player, and then it could have a link to it. And a person can click on that link and be redirected right to your web shop or for any other location on the internet. And this is highly trackable too. So you can see how much traffic you're getting to these respective links through My Cujo. And these are all things that we offer in the video player itself. So something as basic as if you use our, this graphic has this was a Women's Champions League game. So we got the feed from a broadcaster. But if you were to use our graphics for the scoreboard and timer, you could have a scoreboard sponsor up there. So once you turn the scoreboard on to activate it within My Cujo, that logo will show up there. And again, if it's the CONIFA web shop, that would be up there. And someone could be watching this on their laptop. They could be watching it on the app on their phone, and they can click that logo and it will bring them to the shop. And this is something that you guys can utilize with local sponsors, with global sponsors, but also if your organization runs things like coaching clinics or referee clinics, or you have a player development sessions or camps, you could also use My Cujo to promote these activities, right? Because we also want this to be a tool to increase awareness and increase engagement for you guys, whether it's new players, new administrators, so on and so forth. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to put a corporate logo in here. There are other ways in which you could use it. And then another monetization opportunity for CONIFA as a whole and the individual federations is paywalls. So we offer two ways currently in which you could put up a paywall. There's individual pay-per-view. So let's just say you have one match. You can put when you create this event, you can determine to put it behind a paywall. You determine the value or the dollar amount or the euro amount, depending on where you are, the pound amount. And then there would be a paywall in front, and people would need to pay with a credit card in order to be able to access this match. And there is a revenue share for your organization. We could also do a competition bundle. So it's different. You can purchase you can have a one-time purchase for perhaps all of the matches in a competition, in a tournament, or in a league. And so fans can basically buy a one-off ticket to have access to all those matches. And fans who maybe don't want to buy all these matches can still come in and buy one individual match. So maybe someone's not interested in buying access to the whole tournament, but they do want to watch the championship match. They could still come on the day of the championship and purchase that match as a one-time offer. Again, this is a revenue share for either CONIFA or the federation that chooses to implement this. And this is something that we're really keen on building out with all of our partners globally. We know that COVID has in particular has presented a lot of challenges. You may be faced with situations where you can't have fans at the stadium. And obviously we know that ticket sales are a real and important revenue stream. So hopefully this can help mitigate that and offer an opportunity to capitalize on fans that would pay to watch these games. But in this instance, they're doing it digitally. They're buying a digital ticket. And so, we're really keen on working with CONIFA and the members to explore these opportunities. We have a staff internally that is constantly talking to brands at a global stage. And CONIFA would certainly be a part of those conversations. And so we are here for you guys. And these are tools that are available to each and every one of your organizations. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. We also have a raised hand from Simon York.
Sure.
Yeah,
please.
So Simon, you're welcome.
Oh, hello, Dave. Thanks,
Hi,
Simon. No, it was exactly the what you've just gone through, really, with the paywall and looking at generating revenue for obviously the federations. I think you've gone through it fantastic. He was on about obviously the sponsors, getting the sponsors in as well, so we can see their logo and they can advertise on the site.
Yeah,
fantastic. And the links. No, you went through it fantastic. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And you know, as John mentioned a couple slides ago, over 250,000 of people have watched the CONIFA competition. So not only are fans looking for this, but I think there's a way for everyone to tell a story to sponsors or potential sponsors that you guys collectively have a very passionate following, and it's, you know, you should be able to pass that on to your partners to have them tap into such a passionate following as well. And again, we are committed to being partners. We don't want this to be a situation where you guys just, you know, you just take the technology and you never hear from us again, right? We want to help build this story together, because truthfully, we think we all win when everyone's succeeding in this. And so, as I shared at the top of the meeting, this isn't an exhaustive presentation by any stretch. We want to be respectful of the time that you've given us all here today, but we can certainly follow up with far more details, like I shared, you know, the sizes and all the logo locations, plenty of how-to videos and tutorials. And before I hop off here, I'll make sure to put my email address in the chat. John, I think it'd be great if you could do the same as well. And then if anyone has questions after the fact or would like to talk about something else separately, we can always make ourselves available. That's what we're here for. So
thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave and John. And we also have a raised hand from Carlos.
Sure, please.
Hello, good morning or good evening, depending where you are in the world. I have a couple questions for my Cujo. The first is if you live stream directly the games as they're happening, or you just live stream the replays. I didn't understand that part.
Oh, so you can live streaming is you're capturing it live, right? So and you can do that using a mobile phone, or you can do a camera and an encoding setup. But if internet is a challenge at the facility, then you can always record it to to a camcorder or a camera, and then you can upload it later if you need to. But what I think maybe I confuse you on is someone can come, even though if they don't get a chance to watch the game at live. So let's say the match is at 3 o'clock and they miss it, they can go in at 5 o'clock and they can watch it in its entirety later on. So the fan doesn't necessarily have to be there live to watch the content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And I have another question. How can you can register as a user, right? Not I mean, in order to watch the games, you just need to register to the platform and you can get all the access.
Yeah, so opening unless a partner of ours has chosen to do a paywall, everything is free to watch. So yeah, so if you were to go to mycujo.tv right now, there's probably live, you know, the cool thing about My Cujo is if you're a football fan, we have football matches from every corner of the globe, almost 24 hours a day. So if there's nothing good on TV or you're sick of watching Netflix, I'm sure there's a match for you to watch on My Cujo that you might find interesting. So yeah, it's completely free for your users unless you do the paywall. And then if you choose to do a paywall, then your fans just need to create an account on My Cujo in order to pay for the match. And it doesn't cost anything for your fans to create an account on My Cujo.
So for individual users, if I got it right, it's completely free for individual users?
Yeah, it's free to use and it's free to watch. So I think we're talking about maybe two separate things here. One, maybe you are the administrator of your federation's account. So you would have access to your federation's channel so that you can access the live streams to create them and actually broadcast the matches. But as a fan, it's completely free to join My Cujo and watch games. In fact, you don't even necessarily need to have an account. You could just go to mycujo.tv right now and watch everything for free that isn't behind a paywall, which is most of our content currently.
Oh, so in order to charge for a fee, you need to select the option to have the paywall. I mean, if you are the administrator.
Yeah,
of the...
you know what? Here, I'll just show you guys real quick what that looks like. So
yes, I'm in your website, so I'm checking
yeah,
it out.
so, but if you have a channel, right, then that's where you would create the opportunity yourself. So very quickly, and we'll wrap up after this, and we can take everyone through a full tutorial at some other time. Yeah. But sorry, let me just show you. This is if you had an account on mycujo, this is what the back end of the system would look like for you to manage your broadcasts. And this is just a fake event that I have. And if I go, so this is as the team names and the date and time, but you'll notice that down here, I can click pay-per-view. So it's free by default. Every match is free by default. But if you wanted to charge users, you know, I would say, okay, I'm going to charge, you know, €2 to watch this match. And then anyone who tried to access this match would be met with a request to log into their mycujo account to pay for access to the match. Otherwise, if it was free, it would be like what we just saw on mycujo, right? So all these matches that you see right here are free to watch.
Oh, good. I see.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you very much.
We can't go through all the details.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to show that thing real quick, and if there are any other questions, happy to take them. But again, want to be very respectful that you guys have a lot of other important topics to go through, and we can certainly take people through demonstrations separately, and we're also available. So I will sign off and say thank you very much for the time today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in the chat here. Oh, there's a question about when the mycujo brand will be integrated with the 11 brand. That's a good question. It's very much still a work in progress. And in certain markets, it will probably be quicker than others. And I say that because like Taiwan and Myanmar, for example, mycujo already streams a lot of football content there. And so it makes sense that because they have a physical presence that we integrate into the 11 sports brand there probably quicker than we might in, let's say, Brazil or the United States, where you know, we 11 doesn't have a presence currently, but mycujo has made a name for itself. So I think in the next 12 to 18 months, we will slowly start to see the mycujo name take a step back, and we'll be more in line with the 11 sports branding. So good question. So thank you very much for the time here today. I'm putting this in, and no one, it is, Stefania, it is free for federations to create an account and use mycujo. So that's the beauty of mycujo, is it's accessible for everyone. And again, if you want to set up some time, I just put my email address in. I'll put John's in as well. And would be happy to take you guys through this, and don't want to take up too much more of the time today, but we can spend as much time as anyone wants. When you reach out, we can arrange another Zoom meeting separately. So thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate the time today, and hope to hear from you all soon.
Thank you both, Dave and James. Sorry, not James, John.
Yeah.
That it seems that there's huge interest in this, so definitely we should have a specific session for this. Now we continue. We have the head of knowledge at Colosseum Sport, Tomer Yehudayan, if it was pronounced correctly. I don't know. I don't. You have to unmute yourself. Okay, Fabio, you're there.
Sorry, after multiple challenges with my PC. Tomer, thank you for coming. Sorry for the technical disruption. Now is your time. I mean, Tomer is the head of the educational part, and because this is an event to share education, but also the head of this region of this business. So Colosseum provide know-how, skills. It's I think Tomer will explain better, but it's kind of both an advisory and an academic institution for sports people. So Tomer, please share your insight or experience, your advice to the CONIFA audience. So how we can leverage your expertise and in the future, how we can maybe work together. Thank you, Tomer, please.
Amazing, and thank you all. It was very interesting, and I see the technology, it's part of the story, and it's part of the challenge, and of course, it's part of the solution. I will share a short presentation, but more than that, I want it to be an open space for you to ask me things about the Israel, about the model, and so I will share a quick presentation to present the company and myself a little bit. So can I share the screen, please?
Is it possible now? If we try to do it now.
Yes, thank you. So we are Colosseum. We are a sports tech group based in Israel and in New York. But before I jump to Colosseum, I will tell you a little bit about myself. I used to play basketball for Hapoel Jerusalem. In the past 12 years, I'm a basketball referee. And in the past 5 years, I'm a wheelchair basketball referee. This, like from 2 months ago, it was from the Israel Cup. And I supposed to have a flight for the international exam for the IWBF. But of course, because the COVID is postponed for a bit, but I decided to keep with my passion, not as a player and not as a referee, also as a referee, but take it more for the management side. And today I'm part of Colosseum. We have 5 team members. Oren Simonian, he established the Innovation Center in Tel Aviv University, and the VC over there, Timothy, that used to work from the French, for the French Soccer Association, and now he's in Miami. And Fernanda from Brazil. And our mission is to empower the sports by the Israeli technologies. I will explain, of course, more about the technologies. The photo that you see here is from our past event. We had 2 amazing events in Tel Aviv of 500 people in 2018 and 19. Of course, Israeli entrepreneur, but also people from all over. This year, unfortunately, we couldn't do it on Bloomfield Stadium, the biggest, like the main stadium in Israel, and the regular place that we regularly to do it. But we took the summit from 600 people to 2,600 people. We had many lecturers, many speakers from Lance Armstrong, yet now we have a VC on the sports tech, from the head of sponsorship of Coca-Cola and from Twitch, and of course from guys from the Israeli deep tech. Because one of the things that we see in sport, that of course we have the sports tech technologies, but many times you have great solution that already there, but people don't speak the tech and the sport language. So we try to help those tech guys to see the opportunity in the sport and to take and do the opposite. Regarding the Israeli startups, so you see here more than 200 Israeli sports tech startup. I'm sure you're familiar with some of them. If it's a Pico, they do the fan engagement for Dortmund, and in the NHL, Pixelot, that today is the biggest automated production, more than the ESPN, and more things that go to the broadcasting, Intel Sports, things from the asset development, respect. And what's amazing about the Israel technologies, if I go for one of my main favorite, let's call it vertical, is the cognitive training. And if you heard about IntelliGym, for example, it's a company that it was a simulator for the Israeli pilots, and they took the simulator, they did the chain, and now people train with the computer how to take decision better, how to work, is to see the full picture. And what's interesting about this specific company, that now when we buy player, usually we have this diagram where you can see how much to jump and stamina, but people don't pay a lot of attention to the cognitive world. And we have some in the sport, but also in the esports, some amazing solution about it. So first of all, I will share with you a report, and this map is an interactive map. And that means that if I go from now for intelligent, I can press it and it's send it to our platform. I will explain about the product soon, but one of the things that we want to do is to access the data, the knowledge, and to make it easy for everyone. We develop a Winnerize. If you know Crunchbase, or in Israel, we have Nation Central that you have all the startups. So today you have here more than 3,000 startups, more than 800 investors, communities from iSport Connect and Plan from France, and Elite Sport, and much more. And if you go, you can find the startups by vertical. And now if we have a huge event, mega event, or we look for technology, we can find it here. And we try to do everything simple. Of course, this platform became smarter and smarter, but you can find the company, you can go through the website and find the founders on the link. So this Winnerize, people 2 years ago asked me, Tomer, do you know any solution for this or that? And I had a huge Excel sheet, so now it's easier for us. I will back to the PPT, and if I break the Coliseum activity for 3 things, so we have everything that's regarding the community. We have the event, we have the reports, and we have demo days, 2 days from now. We have with Tel Aviv Marathon, we opened the Running Tech Challenge. We took open the application, more than 30 startups applied that want to change, because now it's a virtual marathon, but in general, a lot of things that our partner from Tel Aviv Municipality explain us that they create already this digital marathon and they had a cyber attack. And instead of 10,000 runners, they had like 60 million. So we thought maybe about the broadcasting, maybe that we will be more engagement, maybe new platform, the sponsors. But sometimes when you listen closely, you can understand really the needs, and then to do this integration through the technologies. That's regarding the community. Beside that, we have consulting, and we do it for startups. Here in Israel, it's not a pure consulting. We go with them for the long run. We have iBrain that in one of my courses, I put this device on my head, and then I just shot penalty without touching the ball. It's helped to concentrate and also to recover from injuries and other great solution. But we also develop a kind of community for sports CIOs, a chief of innovation, because today, I'm sure many of you dealing with technology in one hand or another, but we see those of technology, chief of innovation, that want to know better and to understand what happened in other industries. So we're now building this group of 100 sports CIOs. And the third activity, and this is my department, is the education. And in education, we have a few things. So first of all, one of the projects that I'm most proud is a program we did with the Israeli soccer in the top division. It was with IFPO, the Israel Football Organization. We took 20 players, the goalkeeper from Maccabi Tel Aviv, Maccabi Haifa, and all the other teams. And we create course for them to take them closer to the sports and tech world. As you know, most of the athletes retired and then go for coaches, and you know the financial is not the main thing in their head when they buy the cars, and then in 30, 35, then they need to think about the future. So we open with them the LinkedIn account, and we help them to build their digital assets and to extend their brand and give them those tools in connection to the sports industry in Israel and in general. And I'm really happy to say that 4 of them already start to promote project with Israeli startups. And one of them is Intel Sports, that we have great connection, and now they're building the future of the broadcasting with the 3D. It's an Israeli startup acquired by Intel 4 years ago, and more than $160 million. And those 2 players that on the field help the project management from Intel to understand how to create this storytelling. And you can see this mutual value between the players and Intel. Besides that, one of our main focus is for managers. So I'm studying sport business management on Ben-Gurion University. I have a course around sports tech. We do have another course around sports tech on master degree in ONO. And in Wingate, we just launched the first sports tech management program. It's 180 hours. We have courses around fan engagement, athlete performance, esports, smart stadium, and how to start to build your own startup. But again, this is from people that want to enter the industry or already work in one startup or more. And now we're gonna launch an executive program for sport executive. I would like to share about it later, but I want to back to the organization side, because I know that you have a lot of activity in many crises and you do an amazing job. And we took some models from the tech world. If you know the business model canvas, that helps startup to kind of build the strategy and business plan in a very lean and smart way. And we change it for the sports world. So, because some things are similar, but something you can understand better. And so all those tools, all those methodologies that we took from the Israeli tech and in general from tech to the sports world is the thing that we're sharing in our educational programs, because Israel is, that's important to say, we are not a sports nation, not at all. We have only 9 medals, and now we have Danny Avdia in the NBA, but we have 3 players in general. But our vision, and we do it as we speak, is to leverage Israel as a sports tech nation. Because again, we have an amazing technology, we have amazing brain and brands that want and open their R&D center here. For example, Nike, and of course in other places. So if you look on the Israel ecosystem, I can see very similar between the automotive and sports. In the automotive, we had only 1 car. It was a very bad car, and still today, Israel have Mobileye and Waze and Move It, and a great solution. In the sport, the same. We don't have the best sport, not to have the best athletes, but of course we can leverage our sports through the technology. So we see ourselves as a platform. We want people to connect. That's why we do those events. That's why we help different people. We access this data because we believe that a lot happened in the past years, and now is the time, and that we need to see what the technology enables us. Of course, the technology is not magic, and we must remember that each technology in the history gave us something, but also take us something. So we need to be very cautious about it and to see how we implement it and how we do it smart. For example, the data. We can collect so much data today, but the question is how we really use this data. And that's take me to my last point, that we are less focused about the technology itself, because a lot of companies do it, and we like to focus on the people that manage those technologies, the sport executive, which tool they need to, which methodology, which connection. And for that, I will share the next program that we're gonna do. It's a sport executive program. 1.5 years ago, we did it physically in Israel. We had 3 managers from Barca. We also have collaboration with Barca Innovation Hub and Barca Universitas. And today we are the representative of the platform in Israel and in Turkey. In the end, Israel and Turkey are similar in many ways. Here you have many online courses, but this specific program is going to be only 5 days, evening time in Europe. Our goal is to 30 participants from different backgrounds, from the head of innovation from Under Armour that already in, people from Deloitte Sports, the chief scientist of the Israel IOC, people from Maccabi Haifa, and people, players even from Lyon and soccer agent that want to know better about those specific challenge, about the methodologies, about the know-how, but more than that, about the network and the connection. Because today we have 2 things. In Zoom, I hope we can sit in the same table. We have times that we are totally passive and we listen and collect. And there is the network session that sometimes can go to lost. So here, for example, we talk about sports open innovation. We host Jean-Baptiste Elliott, the head of innovation from UEFA. He explained about showcase study, 15 minutes, and then we have time for discussion. Then we have time for new ideas. We will start it in 10 days. It will be on Wednesday. So I will share the link here below. If someone interesting, I'm be more than welcome to have a representative from you or from one of the listeners. And that's us in a nutshell. But as you see, we see ourselves as a platform. Many people see us as the connection to the Israeli tech. And I had the call with Fabio and I was fabulous about all the activity. So if you have any question or something, please free to ask. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tomer. Just a short question. Is it possible for you to send your presentation by email to me so I can share it on our website? That would be highly appreciated. And the same for all that are speakers here today. We will have a specific page on our website and we will publish the recording from this session, but also all the speakers' presentations so we can share it globally to everyone and promote it. Thank you once again. And if there is any questions out there, once again, in your right bottom side of the screen, you can see something called reaction. There you can raise your hand if there is any questions. I will raise my hand now so that everyone can see how it looks like. And I can also lower my hand if my question is answered upon. But
otherwise, I make the last comment. If there anybody, otherwise I make the last comment to Tomer's speech.
Please.
I would thank you for, of course, Tomer for his time, and also I saw, and I hope you saw this at least two touching point with the CONIFA. One, we try to be innovative and creative, to overcome our challenges. And the CONIFA, of course, has been facing several. So the point I see is to promote also the innovation among our members, because as Tomer said, they are supporting, incubators. So new idea, new business idea, new projects. And definitely we have to deliver this message through our large community around the world, around more than our, multiple members, more than 60, to be also on the business side innovative and leverage this opportunity to have a kind of innovative incubator project, Colosseum and CONIFA, possibly. And the other touching point, I would say, because CONIFA is represented the emerging football in some way, And in the world, we also see most of the big sports events, the big clubs, but below those top, there is the huge amount of non-professional, semi-professional world, which is closer, much closer to us. In other words, along with the important guest speakers that Tomeri brought to his Colosseum, I think it's relevant to produce case studies for the second tier, the third tiers, which cannot replicate the business model of FIFA, UEFA, or Barcelona, those big football or sports players. In other words, education should be adapted to the needs of non-professional world, which is huge, and I would say untapped, because who can replicate easily Real Madrid, Juventus, and Barcelona business model. And so I would say that also with Tomeri we should study this bigger world of sports, which needs to be efficient, cannot really easily replicate the big examples. So I thank you, Tomeri. So we continue our discussion, and if our president allows me, I would like to introduce the new guest speakers. Tomeri, you want to just close?
Thank you very much. As you mentioned, we really believe that the knowledge is in the sharing, and on a summit last year, we host a consortium of innovation with UEFA, Barcelona, Johan Cruyff, the FFF, and it was the first time that they're gathering, and they did it in Israel. And because it was a closed doors, and it was really great to see, and we didn't even lead most of the education because it's based on sharing. So I really think that the executive from all other globe have sometimes the similar challenge, and the solution sometimes is not supposed to be, sometimes it's affordable, and sometimes it's a creative business ideas and new models of sponsorship, as you mentioned before. And so thank you all. I will put you also the link, and if someone ask me a question, I will put my email as well, and really feel free to reach about everything that you think I can advise in the technology in Israel. And thank you for this great event.
Thank you, Tomeri. Oh, here is time of our last but not least guest speakers, Rich Motzkin from Los Angeles. And most of you probably know that I lived in Los Angeles too. I'm an alumnus from University of Southern California, so that keep me close to the that world. But in addition to my past passion, I would say that Richard is the head of soccer. Sorry, I will say football. But in the US you have to say soccer. Okay, thank you. But really soccer, and Wasserman is one of the largest, world largest sports marketing agency based in the US, Los Angeles, but growing globally. I would say they are already office in Europe, and I guess expanding in Asia as well. And of course, Richard, is driving this international growth. At least for soccer. And I thank you and welcome Richard to introduce himself shortly, Wasserman, and how basically Wasserman is managing, helping the growth of soccer in the US and worldwide. I think, of course, we know soccer is not the main sport in the US, but that also it's interesting because as a CONIFA, we are the leading football representatives in few territories, but in most of other territories, we are just in a kind of an alternative, practitioner of football. So in other words, we have to compete with the bigger guys. In the US, soccer is basically doing the same, as to compete versus the most established sports like the American football, basketball, baseball, and so on. So please, Richard, share with us your experience, how you support the growth of soccer, competing other alternatives sports in this. And now you can advise also our audience how to be efficient, some way, how to be successful in even in so small world. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Fabio, and thank you for the introduction. And it's actually an interesting place to start because, you know, when I think about my career and, you know, how I started and where soccer or football is today in North America, you know, listen, if somebody had said 25 years ago, MLS would be where it is today with, you know, owners coming in, spending $300 million expansion fees to buy teams and spending probably another couple $100 million to build stadiums. And so the entry cost to get into MLS for a potential owner is now over $500 million. You know, people would have said you're crazy, right? And so, you know, everything sort of starts somewhere. And, you know, I think 25 years from now, you know, people probably won't be talking about soccer as being still sort of, you know, a secondary sport in the US. I think it's going to, you know, probably surpass hockey and continue to grow and rise because, as we all know, global football, global soccer is the sport played by more people in the whole, any other sport in the world. It's the sport that is the most watched, the World Cup tournament, the most, you know, it's the first sport for most people. So, you know, giving a quick background sort of on myself, and then, you know, I'll be happy to answer any questions people have. But my short story is that I did not grow up with soccer. I did not grow up, you know, I grew up like most American kids, you know, playing all the other sports, baseball, basketball, American football. And I went to college and then law school. And when I was a young lawyer, late 80s, early 90s, I had a unique opportunity to become the first ever general counsel in US soccer. And I'm based in Los Angeles now, and I was back then. And then one of the partners at the law firm I worked with was a gentleman named Alan Rothenberg, who ran the 1994 World Cup. And I started doing a lot of work with Alan, and he's also the founder of Major League Soccer. And he gave me the opportunity at a very young age to go be the first ever in-house lawyer for US soccer in the early 90s. And at the time, again, I didn't know anything about soccer. I mean, my first professional soccer game I went to was in 1991, right after that, where I watched US play Italy in Soldier Field in Chicago. And, you know, we got a 1-1 draw, and this was after the 90 World Cup. And it was, you know, at the time, a terrific result for the US team, especially leading into the buildup over the next few years for the World Cup. And you know, it was fortunate. So I basically spent 2.5 years fully immersed in the sport, working with everybody from whether it was FIFA and the marketing partners, to the stadiums, to the federations, to the, you know, literally, you know, to literally dealing with the youth organizations and the amateur organizations. And it was, you know, a 24/7, 365 full immersion for 2.5 years, learning about the sport at every level. And when the World Cup ended, I was recently married at the time, and my wife and I wanted to come back to Los Angeles. And so I had this crazy idea to start my own business representing players, and a bunch of the players off the 94 World Cup team, guys like Alexi Lawless and others who are still my clients to this day. You know, they're broadcasters now. You know, us old guys, we're now, you know, those guys are broadcasters, coaches, team and league executives, and I still operate as their lawyer negotiating their deals. But my first clients were all playing overseas, right? So as a lawyer and as an agent working with, you know, players who are playing in places like Serie A and the Premier League and La Liga and the Bundesliga, you know, you also learn pretty quickly, you know, particularly if you don't speak the language, you need to make good contacts and have good resources worldwide. But two, you also have to always understand what you're doing, right? I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I still to this day will see younger agents or younger people or colleagues that work with me, and we'll be in a business setting, although of course not in the last year with the pandemic, but in meetings where people will start talking about things and saying things. And, you know, if somebody throws out an acronym that you don't understand, or somebody, you know, starts saying, you know, this is the way we always do things, it's not our jobs to just accept status quo, right? It's our jobs to be prepared. It's our jobs to ask questions. It's our jobs to, do what's in the best interest of our clients. And so, what's been also a very sort of fun and illuminating opportunity for me over the years, as MLS has been a nascent growing league over the years, it's also provided, so going through my story, it's also provided for some unique opportunities. One's, Landon Donovan, who you guys probably know is, in my mind, the best American soccer player we've produced, although this younger generation, some of who we represent, certainly is now going to surpass what he achieved on the fields in Europe. But, when he was playing in MLS, one of the things I thought of as I learned, because again, part of it is knowing the rules and regulations for all the territories that you're working with. I noticed that the MLS transfer windows were very different than the European windows. And so leading into the 2010 World Cup that was being played in South Africa, and wanting Landon to sort of stay fit and sharp in the preseason, we came up with this idea of, why don't you go to Bayern Munich from January to March, because the January window is open for Europe. The window for MLS doesn't close till March, and there's nothing that prevents you from doing this. And originally everyone's like, oh, you can't do that. It's never been done before. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's never been done before. This is an opportunity that we should try to take advantage of. Long story short, with Landon, we did it 3 times. He went once to Bayern Munich for a few months, and then he did 2 separate stints at Everton. And then both times, 2 of the times, it was sort of to prepare him for the upcoming World Cup, and as well as just to get that European experience. And generally speaking, those worked out well. And going back to my story, I built my business for 12 years, and then I sold it to Wasserman in 2006. And at that time, Wasserman, my group of a few people, were about employees number 20 here when we start in 2006, because Wasserman had only started a couple years earlier. And when you fast forward till today, the company as a whole is worldwide somewhere about 900 people. The global football group that I help co-run with a colleague out of the UK is probably about 80 some odd people, with about, half of them are agents. And then I focus, of course, primarily on North America. But again, one of the things, as we're always looking to be creative and find opportunities for our clients, one of the things that we've done very well over the last few years is move some of the top young Americans to Germany. We've had a lot of success in that area with players like Weston McKennie, who we've moved to Schalke, and now he's at Juventus, or Gio Reyna at Dortmund, Josh Sargent at Bremen, Chris Richards at Bayern Munich, and recently we've had a couple of young ones, one at Gladbach, one at Wolfsburg. And so and as you got, listen, as you follow what's happened with US soccer generally, the interest level, and of course with players like Weston and Kristen Pulisic performing worldwide, the interest level in the American players has never been higher. The opportunities for them are great, and listen, the future is really bright. And that also doesn't touch upon the women's side, which I haven't talked about, but our women are rock stars. They won again a friendly game last night, 6-0. We represent the majority of those top women players. And, that has been, that's been a really fun and exciting and worthwhile opportunity too, because, they also have brought an incredible amount of positive attention to soccer in this country. Their marketing machines, they get incredible opportunities. And again, what part of our own personal growth and development is figuring out, how can you continue to monetize opportunities for clients? How can you be creative? And one of the things we also did very early on was in the whole digital world, in the digital space. And, we have multiple clients on the women's side who make far more money on their social media / endorsement deals than they do playing soccer, right? And so that's something that, again, we've been really industry leaders. We have a whole digital group that helps access opportunities for them, that helps create content. And so part of it is just, how can you continue to evolve? How can you continue to sort of move forward and, be the best advocates, for your clients, as well as ultimately players have short careers. So it's, how can you maximize what they can do during their career? And then listen, post-career, I represent a number of football managers in the States, including the men's national team coach, but these clients have been clients for not years, but in many cases decades. And as I think all of us who are in this business know, ultimately, sort of the last thing I share is it's all about relationships, right? The people that I started with, I look at when I was a young lawyer, in the office on one side of me was Mark Abbott, who is, also got pulled in by Alan Rothenberg to work on the World Cup, and he's now the deputy commissioner of MLS. On the other side of me was Ivan Gazidis, who was at Arsenal and now he's at AC Milan. And so I always also tell people, the people that you're going to grow and rise with all the same people that are in an industry. So make sure you cultivate those relationships, and ultimately that's the priority for me. No deal, no individual deal is ever more important than making sure that you're prioritizing the relationship. And of course, that doesn't mean you're not fighting hard for your client, but it means that you need to also understand what the other side's position is and what they're trying to accomplish too, so that the truth is you're probably going to be working with these same people over and over again. And you need to at least find some sort of middle ground where everyone's not getting what they want, but everyone can be satisfied and continue to move forward collaboratively. So that's a little bit about my background, and I'm very happy to answer any questions about anything. And as I said in closing, I think the future is incredibly bright for soccer, as we call it in this country. And there'll always be challenges, whether it's the CBA, and certainly the pandemic's been a massive one. But I actually give MLS a lot of credit to sort of get through the season this past year the way they did. And the players, of course, as well, who ultimately are the ones providing the entertainment for everybody. Let's all hope we have better days ahead too, with the vaccine and the ability to get back to normal sooner rather than later.
I have a short question.
Have any questions?
Yeah,
Sure.
I have a short question. It's always nice to speak business with an American person. This is all so that's fantastic. Thank you. What kind of advice would you like to give to, if you look at many of our football associations who are affiliated to CONIFA, they have different kind of strategies today to try to raise funds for their operationals. Many of our members are depending on governmental funds. I always claim that is extremely dangerous, because then you only have one pillar to stand on, and if that falls, then you are back to square one again. So if you think about our members with limited resources, a lot of voluntarily staff around the organizations, what kind of advice would you like to give? Because you can do everything, but it's better to do the right thing, to take the right step first, and then not perhaps jump 5 meters high when you have to start on level 1.
But in what area specifically?
Yeah, in terms of if you put yourself in that position, you are running a football association suddenly. What was the first thing you should try to do to
Well, listen,
level up?
I worked when I was general counsel at the Federation, U.S. Soccer Federation. Back in the early 90s, we were in the red every year. The entire operating budget for the year, which was still, I know it's all relative, but I think our operating budget for the year in the early 90s was somewhere around $2.5 million, right? The operating budget now is $100 million. And, we were also operating in the red. And so we were in many ways, when I joined, an incredibly amateurish organization that was pretty poorly run. And so that was an eye-opening experience for me. I think, listen, ultimately, whether it's a football association or whether it's, you know, a startup business, you know, which, you know, I ultimately, you know, it's about, you know, there's going to be, you know, both fundraising elements and monetization elements and, you know, trying to, of course, generate revenue and keep your expenses to a minimum. I think that, you know, I think that when organizations, you know, are, you know, I don't have the magic answer to that question, right? But I think what you want to do is you want to create an organization that people want to be a part of. And I know that sounds trite, but you want to create an organization where people feel that, you know, things are being done the right way, things are being handled professionally, but also that you are providing value. Now, what is the value that you're providing? The value might be coaching education. The value might be player development. The value might be for referees, right? But I think if, like you said, going to your government example, if all you're doing is asking for handouts from people, you're, you know, I don't think that's good for somebody's long-term, long-term health. And so I always come back to sort of, for me, is how do you provide value to the people that you're serving? And if you can show and demonstrate value, then you're going to grow, then you're going to be successful, and then you're going to develop. And the other thing is, we live in a world where everyone wants instantaneous results, my teenage kids included, right? And things take time. And so, you know, there's no substitute for hard work. There's no substitute for being a little bit patient and letting processes play out. You know, listen, I got a lot of footballers who, you know, the second they have one good game, they think they should be playing for Barcelona, you know? And then, of course, the next game, they probably have an own goal and they're terrible on it. It's like, okay, guys, things take time. So, you know, I know these comments are general comments that I'm saying, but I think that they're true in any business. And ultimately, for me, it's, you know, having a plan, having a vision, you know, demonstrating how you can provide value. And I think when you're, you know, I think when you're also doing that, people will be more apt to give you a greater chance and more apt to support you and more apt to, you know, help you grow and achieve. And that's the other thing, is be okay with slow growth, right? You know, like I said, I started my business by myself out of my apartment, and, you know, I'm sitting in my office here in LA, you know, and it's nice high rise and all the other stuff. But my mentality is always still and always will be that I'm in my office by myself, you know, outworking everybody else. So those are just some general comments, I know. But I think everyone needs to just study their own organization really well and figure out, and to what you said, be targeted in the approach. You know, people ask me all the time, oh, are you going to represent basketball players or American football players or baseball players? And my answer is no. I'd rather be really, really, really good in one area than mediocre in a lot of areas. Yeah. And I think that's what also happens when people spread themselves too thin. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Definitely. I started this session with some key lessons from my own life, and something that I often find with the businesses is they don't understand their own assets and their own values. And if you don't do that, then you have a tricky road to go. So starting to define the assets and understand your customer, and exactly what you said, to understand what kind of values that you provide, then you can put a price tag on it and also start to communicate it, everything. So thanks very much. Okay, do we have any questions to Richard at the moment? I can't see any hand raised at the moment. Fabio, do you want to take over?
Yes, a comment and a question, both. I would say, you know, I appreciate what Richard said, that actually at the beginning, when I talk about CONIFA, I pretty much said similar things. And money matters, definitely. And Richard from the US, where dollars, let me use this word, it's almost a god, or maybe for somebody it's real, but doesn't count everything. Also value and passion at the same value. And so you can be satisfied both the other human values. So in our world, definitely we have to leverage the human values, I would say, and moral values, which is really fulfill our living and our business as much. This is the first comment. The second one is, as Richard said, and of course, Richard is dealing with the big sports stars. But let me say that how you could help also minor football, the minor football worlds. In other words, if you cannot deal, follow support a small younger player, which are not, cannot afford basically your service, your support, your company. But can you help, let's say, also football federation, clubs? In other words, often clubs, they take the image rights from the football players. So in other words, can you be a football team, a football federation, your client, and deal with on the interest of their club and the football players, help both to grow? Because you made the example of the football. So you can help,
No, it's a good question, and a good example of that was, a number of years ago, I represented a player called Carlos Ruiz. His nickname was El Pescadito, Guatemalan all-time leading scorer. He played for the Galaxy here in LA, in Los Angeles, and good player, helped them win a championship. And when I started working with Carlos when he was here in LA, I got to know the Guatemalan Federation pretty well because he was their star player, and they'd always want him to, of course, come back for games. And so we were always dealing with those sorts of logistical issues. And then long story short, over time, I got to know the president of the federation well. And so, effectively, Carlos, myself, and the president said, listen, we want to help Guatemala. I mean, it was obviously something that Carlos was passionate about. And so over the course of time, I actually became a marketing arm for the Guatemalan Federation, and sort of through a collaboration with them and Carlos, we were able to get them an Adidas deal and a couple other opportunities that were exactly addressing what you just said, Fabio, because, it was an opportunity for Carlos to help out his fellow countrymen, and it was an opportunity to raise awareness for Guatemala with, other folks. And so, but what I would say is, that's also comes, the players, of course, the players ultimately are the biggest asset, right? I mean, that's what people are interested in. So what is helpful is, of course, and what is important is to have a player who also has that desire and passion to, help their country. And, when that happens, you can accomplish things. And of course, a big thing I do speak to my clients about, many of whom are remarkably charitable, is, appreciate your good fortune, but also, help others who aren't as fortunate. And so, a lot of my clients do a lot of things, but a lot of them also choose to do it privately because they don't want that attention and accolades for what they do. And it's a very individual decision in that regard. And, whatever they choose to do, if they're giving back and doing good in the world, then of course I support it, however in whatever manner they're comfortable doing so. Listen, there's nothing better than, remember, look, when Dwight York, for example, became a big star at Man U from Trinidad, that helped raise Trinidad's profile, more than most. Giles Barnes is another. You represented a bunch of Jamaican players too, and have tried to help those guys out as well in a variety of ways. So it's, but then, I go back to what I talked about in the last part about, you also need to be not only working collaboratively, but with people who are operating in a professional and ethical manner, right? Because, fairly or unfairly, a lot of times when you're dealing with certain federations and soccer organizations, there's fraud, corruption, poor management, whatever you want to call it. And so, you also have to be careful about wanting yourself or your clients to be tarred with an association with people who aren't doing things the right way.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay, thank you also from the Arctic Circle, far up north in Sweden. Fabio, we are now heading, because time flies, and it's so interesting to listen to everybody's experience and learnings. We are we exceeded the time limit, of course, but I think we should move into the final closure. But once again, thank you, Richard, for your greatness and sharing all the experiences.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on. And I actually do have to go, unfortunately, but I did put my email address in the group chat. So if anyone wants to send me an email about something, I had a couple private messages. Feel free to email me. And again, thank you for having me on, and best of luck with everything. I'm sure we'll chat soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And have a nice day.
We continue our conversation later on, Richard. Thank you.
Okay.
And
bye-bye.
Just a moment. We have one question here from Cohen.
One question.
Sure.
Cohen,
question for me?
Yeah, I think so. Cohen, you need to unmute your microphone, or shall I do it? I can try to do it. Ask to unmute. He raised his. Are you there, Cohen? Aha, it was
just a hand clap.
It was a hand clap.
I'll take it. Thank you, guys. Okay,
thank you, Richard. Okay, Fabio.
Time for Jason now to
Yes.
wrap up and the event and say hello to everybody. Please, Jason.
Good to meet you, Fabio. Good day to you all. I haven't just been in business for 20 years. I've been developing, building, imagining business all my life. I used it to fine-tune many disciplines and sharpen the faculties of my being. I've used business to change lives and create a life for myself and family. And I give away as much as I can every day without question, so that I may receive. Business, a passion, a will to succeed, a strategy for the long term, cooperation, providing a service, adding value, action is what drives humanity and must be maintained. I would, on behalf of CONIFA's global family, like to extend our gratitude to our guest speakers, John Nyman and David Green from My Cujo, Tomo Hadayan from Quality in Sport, Richard Motskin from Wasserman, Christoph Wenzel from CONIFA, all esteemed Global Executive Committee members and attendees, and our Global President, Per Anders Blind. With an exceptional thank you to Fabio Puntillo for arranging this fantastic summit. And I think we would all in return like to wish good luck to Fabio in achieving his fellowship with the London School of Business as he goes forward. And just to quote W. Edwards Deeming, profit in business comes from repeat customers, customers that boast about your project or service, and that bring friends with them. I wish you all a powerful and fun 2021. Thank you.
So I just wanted to share with you, finally, the next CONIFA event. I don't know if you see this on your screen. Can you see?
Yes, we see.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. The upcoming week is a very special and unique week for CONIFA. We will have a lot of webinars and sessions online, and starting on Tuesday, 26th of January, where we will have a CONIFA Women Football meeting. And because we are having a CONIFA Women World Football Cup coming up in June, and that meeting will focus on women football development inside CONIFA. That meeting will continue with another CONIFA business meeting with Fabio hosting the event, and then it will be followed by several continental meetings where each member of CONIFA can join and continue their and talk about the development in their specific continent. So I just wanted to share that with you, and the final will be on Saturday when we have our 8th annual general meeting, and Sunday, where we will have the draw ceremony for the European Football Cup and the Women's World Football Cup, and ending with a press conference at 2 p.m. But you can find all this information on our website, www.conifa.org. So just go into that side and look at the calendar, and you will find all the information for the upcoming week. But once again, thank you everyone for your patience and your ears and listening. And once again, thank you, Fabio, for organizing a fantastic event. There will be more to come.
Thank you, Pere. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Jason, for all the fantastic closure. Once again.
It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to be involved. I've been delighted. Thank you.
I hereby close the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay inside CONIFA. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.